What's up guys, Matt back again, and this is the Ichiban Kuji Dragon Ball vs Omnibus Super, and in today's video, we'll be reviewing the entire set. Before we dive into the video, please remember to subscribe and hit the bell, like the video, comment your thoughts down below for us to discuss, follow me on my socials, and consider becoming a YouTube member to enter into our monthly giveaways and Discord server so our community can help you on your Dragon Ball figure collecting journey. Let's kick off the review with the first prize in the set, Goku and Vegeta. Man, what an incredible prize in a Kuji. Having two characters in one prize was pretty rare for Ichiban Kuji back then. Nowadays, we look forward to these new Master Release Plus releases, but back then it was a true rarity. Goku and Vegeta firing the Kamehameha and Gallic Gun together while fighting Broly is an iconic scene that is truly brought to life with these figures. I love the paint finish on these Super Saiyan Blue figures as they went with the color palette closer to the Broly film rather than the more aqua color of the Dragon Ball Super anime. Seeing the darker blue lighten up to a white on the tips makes these really pop. Both figures have excellent shading applied all over them, in fact. I've seen some people complain about the likeness of Vegeta or the fact that he's standing instead of floating, like in the film, but I really do like this take on his face. It reminds me a lot of this promo image of the movie when it was in theaters. And of course, the pose obviously had to have him grounded in order to make the figure stand fully balanced. And of course, not to neglect him, but Goku looks fantastic. I can't imagine anyone buying only one of these used instead of the double figure set, but if you had to, Goku probably displays really well on his own, but I can't recommend enough posing these two together on a sick Broly movie display. They're legendary figures that have begun to get a little more expensive as of late, so get them before they reach that holy grail status. Almost can't be a legendary Ichiban Kuji if you don't feature the Toei money machine himself, Broly. Right off the bat, you can tell this Broly's body was a reused sculpt of the Broly from History of Rivals, and his head is a slight recycle of the Omnibus King Cluster's head. They did change his hair and arm sculpt slightly, but it's still mostly the same other than his skin tone and hair color. None of that really matters to me, as I believe having a regular Super Saiyan Broly from the best Dragon Ball movie of all time is going to be awesome, regardless of what direction you go with it. He's not a humongous King Cluster, but at a whopping 12 inches tall, he still demands quite a presence on a shelf. I'm always a big fan of this design for Broly as well, since he's still wearing his armor, which looks so cool on him. The figure has shading on his boss ear, skin, hair, and pants. He scales perfectly with other figures like the Omnibus Z Gogeta and Goku Vegeta combo in the set. It's just hard not to love any Broly release, and this one has to be one of my favorites. Alright, time to head to the world of Dragon Ball GT with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Gogeta is an extremely popular character, but I have to say that this is one of my least favorite Ichiban Kuji releases. Even before I realized this sculpt would be reused 2 more times after this release, I was never really pleased with them reusing one of the best Gogeta figures ever from the Greatest Saiyan, only to make it an objectively worse version in this figure. Gogeta's face just doesn't look great or even as good as his production images. His teeth are too big and his face lacks detail to accentuate his emotions, so he ends up looking a little derpy. I also prefer the original color of bright deep red on the Greatest Saiyan Gogeta instead of this orange mixed with light red color on their hair. The figure also looks pretty stiff in his pose in comparison to the original, since it looked a lot more confident and powerful. This Gogeta isn't one of the worst releases ever, but it really feels unnecessary and lesser to his original in almost every way. He's a solid option for anyone looking for a budget-friendly Gogeta, but honestly, you won't regret just saving up your money for the Greatest Saiyan version instead. It's time for the big man himself, probably the MVP of last year's best figures list from my Discord community, Omega Shenron. Never did I expect to see an Omega Shenron figure back in 2021, and no way did I expect one this huge. Omega is not only the biggest figure in the set, but one of the biggest and heaviest in my entire collection. Coming in at a huge 13.5 inches and weighing over 4 pounds gives you a pretty big indication, no pun intended, of how monstrous this guy is. I wish Bandai would make canonically large characters like this more often because he's just so sick. I'm a fan of the chalky looking matte finish to the character with amazing uses of shading applied to him. He's also got these giant spikes protruding from his back and elbows that are actually really fun to put together when setting up the figure. I also think they captured his likeness perfectly by giving him a detailed smile, plenty of life and personality in his eyes, and those wrinkles around his mouth. I find it incredibly surprising that this figure hasn't really broken the $100 mark on the secondhand market yet, but it's only a matter of time before he becomes a holy grail due to his details, size, and how rare it is to see any Omega Shenron figure. Time for us to dive into a fan favorite, Trunks in his Super Saiyan Grade 3 form. This Trunks figure has to be one of the most popular Ichiban Kuji figures I've seen. It's an iconic form from a pretty iconic battle in Dragon Ball Z. Trunks set the standard for all of these forms moving forward within Ichiban Kuji. The shading on this figure is crazy, from being dramatically applied to his hair, armor, and skin. There's heavy shading on his jumpsuit too, and while I understand they are going for a more manga aesthetic with the deep blacks mixed in, I feel as though it's a little too much. Regardless of that minor nitpick, I think he's got some excellent paint and shading. Trunks is also surprisingly big for a figure, coming in at 12 inches to make him one of the bigger Kuji figures you can get. His likeness is hard to mess up, but he looks superb in the face and very much like the anime and manga. Most people would argue that this is the best Trunks figure we've gotten, and I'd be hard-pressed to prove them wrong. The character and figure of perfection, Perfect Cell. Seeing Perfect Cell arrive as a master release for us back in 2021 was a dream come true. Cell's popularity and impact speaks for itself. He's even quite a lot of the community's favorite villain. This was also my favorite figure of 2021, so I think you can tell where I'm about to go with this. Cell's size is very respectable and truly captures the height the character portrays in the anime. He also looks almost one-to-one with his manga reference, which is one of my favorite ones that Toriyama's ever produced. Cell's likeness is incredible with lots of details. Comparing him to the newer Duel to the Future version certainly shows how much farther they could have gone with the shading and likeness, but the figure still looks excellent and has plenty of expert painting and shading techniques applied. I remember seeing this figure sell for over $100 for a while, but with the Duel to the Future version now in the market, I'm sure that this helped bring this one's price down quite a bit. I'm a huge fan of the figure to this day, and it has to be one of the greatest ones Bandai's done so far. Alright, let's talk about this little squirt. The surprising inclusion of Cell Jr. Now I know that this thing is small, one of the smallest mass release figures ever made, but I guess that's expected, right? It is a bummer that Cell Jr. is his own solo prize, meaning his Ichibancho even sold on its own. It's crazy to see him sell for close to $60 sometimes, but at least his Ichibancho is more in line with his appropriate pricing of about $25. At that price, it's hard to say no to such a great looking figure. His little smile brings plenty of personality to the figure, and they still made an effort to add shading to him. Very similar to the Cyberman figure that released earlier that year, Cell Jr. has the ability to pose his arms. That's an awesome addition for a collector like me because I've actually decided to make it true to the anime and purchase 7 of these figures in total. Imagine it. A bunch of displayed Cell Juniors all making different poses. I know it's just their arms, but who cares? That makes this little guy a lot of fun, even if he is a squirt. Finally, we've arrived to the last one prize, and what a way to end this Kuji with a bang. The Eternal Dragon of the Black Star Dragon Balls, Ultimate Shenron. Dragon figures are huge hits within the Kuji community due to their massive size and details, and Ultimate Shenron is no different. He's very similar and clearly recycled from the previous year's Shenron within the Ultimate Variation Kuji. His scales and head sculpt seem to be the key differences other than the dramatically different colors. This Shenron is probably one of, if not the cheapest among his dragon comrades, but that doesn't take away from just how awesome he is. Everything from his amazing sculpt, bright red and pink colors that pop due to his shading, and snarling face makes him a wonderful piece to showcase within a collection. Plus, because GT figures are so rare within Master Lees, it makes him even more exciting to own. He's not my favorite dragon, but one of the coolest figures within this legendary Ichiban Kuji. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this look back on this awesome Ichiban Kuji from December 2021. To this day, I still believe it to be one of the greatest Ichiban Kuji of all time. It has such awesome characters within it, and it came out at such a key moment within the collecting community because we really wanted to see characters like Cell and Omega Shenron show up in Ichiban Kuji. It's definitely an S tier, and it's not too old, so you can still find a lot of the figures in this set for pretty good prices if you look hard enough on places like Zen Market, Baiyi, eBay, anywhere you can think of. But like I said, it is one of my favorite Ichiban Kuji of all time. It's S tier, and I can't believe it came out to this day. I appreciate you guys watching up until the end. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, drop a comment down below, tell me your favorite figure in this set, if you own this set, who you own in the set, etc. And of course, subscribe for more reviews like this. If there is an older Ichiban Kuji set within the Master League series that you'd like to see a review like this with all the figures included that I haven't done yet, please let me know down in the comment section and I'll do my best to prioritize that. But until the next video, guys, I will see you all later.